Okay, let's unpack this. When you think of global action movie icons, I mean, a name that immediately springs to mind is Jackie Chan.
Oh, absolutely. Top of the list for most people.
And even now, at 71, he's still remarkably active. He's got Panda Project 2 hitting theaters October 1st. It just reminds you he's, like, always there.
He really is a force, isn't he?
Yeah.
You see that kind of sustained success, project after project. It feels like he's just permanently part of the movie landscape.
A fixture, yeah. But alongside all the buzz for his new film, something else has started bubbling up again. Pretty serious criticism, actually.
Yeah, I saw that. Coming from people he worked really closely with, right? Former colleagues.
Exactly. From the Hong Kong film scene specifically, we're hearing accusations like, well, being ungrateful, stingy even, claims he hasn't really looked after the people who helped build his career, especially those stunt guys from the really dangerous early days.
And what's interesting, based on the source material we're looking at for this deep dive, is the timing. It seems like these accusations are getting traction, like right now.
Right.
Just as he's ramping up promotion for the new movie.
Right. It adds this whole other layer. Kind of complicated, maybe uncomfortable.
Definitely changes the usual hype narrative.
So the source we're using today is an article that really lays out these specific claims. And it gives some pretty important background from that whole Hong Kong film era, which was, legendary, but also incredibly demanding.
Right. So our mission today is basically to use this article as our map. We're diving into these specific accusations, who's making them, why now, and, what does this source actually tell us about the relationships behind the scenes, the stuff you don't normally see.
Behind the iconic action.
Yeah.
Could there be a hidden cost to that kind of success borne by others? That's what we're exploring.
Wow.
Okay, so let's start with the main voice in this article, the key critic, Chung Fat. The source tells us a fair bit about him. Who is he, and why does his perspective carry weight, according to this piece?
Well, Chung Fat is definitely a significant figure in that Hong Kong martial arts film world. The article points out he's actually a year older than Jackie Chan, so they're contemporaries.
Same generation. Okay.
And crucially, he trained under Fan Jua, the Peking opera master. That's the same super intense training ground that gave us people like Lin Zhenging, Liu Jing, titans of the industry.
Ah, okay. So he's not just some outsider commenting. He came up through the exact same demanding system. Shared background. That gives him instant credibility when talking about that world, I guess.
Precisely. And his entry into movies, the article says, ties him right to the start of that whole boom. His training brother, Lin Zhenging,
Who became a big star himself, right? Mr. Vampire.
that's him. He brought Chung Fat into films when Chung Fat was just 20. And his first gig, working on Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon.
Wow, Enter the Dragon. So he was literally there at the beginning, saw the whole Bruce Lee phenomenon happen, which then paved the way for, his generation. Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung.
Exactly. And that era, the 70s, the 80s, became the golden age, defined by these amazing stunt teams. You had Jackie Chan's team, Sammo Hung's Hung Clan, Liu Jiaoliang's team.
And they weren't just stunt doubles in the modern sense, were they?
No, not at all. These were highly skilled martial artists, acrobats. They were inventing and performing stunts that were just groundbreaking, pushing physical limits constantly, dangerously so, often.
And the article makes it clear Chung Fat wasn't just watching from the sidelines. He had a direct connection to Chan too, right? It says he followed Lin Zhenging first, then joined Sammo's Hung Clan.
Yeah, but his path crossed with Chan's quite a bit. The article mentions he was in several of Chan's movies, like Shaolin Gate back in '76 and later Summer Lucky Stars, Heart of Dragon, Dragon Gate.
So he was in the thick of it. Working alongside these guys, seeing Chan's rise firsthand, that definitely gives his perspective, as the article presents it, a lot of weight.
Absolutely. He witnessed it from the inside, doing the same kind of risky work.
Okay, so credible background, firsthand experience. But the article also digs into why he's speaking out now. What does it say about his reasons?
Well, the article frames it as being related to his stage in life. He's over 70 now. Apparently, he doesn't have any current business ties with Chan, not planning future work together.
So nothing immediate to gain or lose there.
That seems to be the implication. The article suggests his candor now comes from a place of looking back and feeling like he needs to speak up for his peers. For the other martial artists from that era who are reportedly struggling now, fame and money seem less important to him at this point than maybe setting the record straight or advocating for those guys.
That context is really important. Makes it sound less like a current fight and more like reflecting on past grievances, maybe? Perceived neglect?
That seems to be the angle the article takes. And that brings us right to the accusations themselves. What's Chung Fat actually claiming, according to the source?
Yeah, the specifics. What's the core complaint?
The main thrust, as presented in the article, is this perceived lack of recognition, and maybe more importantly, a lack of ongoing support for the people who took those huge physical risks. The ones who made Chan's iconic stunts possible. He's essentially arguing they haven't been properly looked after, especially now they're older, dealing with injuries.
And the article uses that famous police story bus scene as a prime example, doesn't it? The one Chan is so celebrated for.
It does. Chung Fat doesn't seem to deny the scene was dangerous, but the article quotes him, highlighting that the worst injuries, the really life-changing ones, happened to the team members.
Who specifically, does it say?
Yes, he names Fu Jiansheng and Li Jiansheng. The article reports Chung Fat saying they fell from that double-decker bus during the stunt.
Fell from the bus. And the outcome.
Severe injuries. According to Chung Fat, the article, so severe they were both in comas for days.
Comas. Just
Oh.
wow, from a movie stunt. That level of risk is hard to even imagine.
It really is. And the article includes this powerful quote attributed to Chung Fat, something like, "Jackie, what would you be without your team?"
Yeah, that hits hard. It's presented as a direct challenge to the idea of the lone hero, right? Underscoring how vital the team was.
Exactly. And the article also mentions Chung Fat, bringing up Sammo Hung's role in Chan's early success, reminding people of those collaborative roots. Plus, the piece itself references other newer misses, like on Bun Mountain, or how Dragons Forever helped cement that whole police story action image. It builds this picture of success resting on a foundation of shared, extreme risk.
But the accusation in the article goes beyond just acknowledging the risk, doesn't it? It talks about alleged neglect after the injury, specifically regarding Li Jiansheng.
Yes, that's a particularly sharp point the article raises. It quotes Chung Fat claiming that Chan allegedly paid very little attention to Li Jiansheng while he was unconscious in the hospital after that fall from the bus.
Oh, okay. So if that's accurate, it's not just about long-term support later on, but about immediate care and concern right after a critical injury.
Right. It makes the criticism feel much more personal, doesn't it?
It really does. And the article says Chung Fat's anger about this has led him to actually demand compensation for these colleagues.
Yes, the article includes some very direct quotes about that. He reportedly says things like, "Hu Xing suffered and worked the most," naming another team member. He stresses that guys like Hu Xing, Zhang Hua, Li Jiansheng, they gave everything, took the biggest hits.
And he confronts Chan about his wealth directly in the article too, asking why he doesn't help them live with dignity.
He does, quite pointedly. The article reports him asking questions like, "Jackie, with just a fraction of your wealth, you could ensure they live with dignity. Why behave this way? Will you take your money to the grave?" It's framed as a moral challenge.
Wow, very direct. And then that detail about Li Jiansheng's current state. The article quotes Chung Fat saying, Li Jiansheng is terrified in the hospital.
Yeah, that quote really brings it into the present. It makes it clear, according to this source, that the consequences aren't just history. They're ongoing for some of these individuals. The fear, the potential hardship.
It definitely humanizes the whole thing, puts faces and feelings to the stunt work. And this whole line of criticism, as the article lays it out, also pushes back against a big part of Chan's public image, right?
You mean the idea that he does absolutely all his own stunts, no doubles ever?
Yeah, that narrative.
Exactly. While that's been central to his brand, the article offers this counter-narrative from people inside, like Chung Fat. It argues the stunt team wasn't just backup. Their key role, often, was testing the really dangerous stuff first.
Like taking the initial falls, the initial risks, to see if a stunt was even survivable before Chan did it.
That's the picture the article paints. They were the ones figuring out if it could be done without, someone getting killed or paralyzed. It shifts the focus from just the final performance to the incredibly risky development process.
That's a huge distinction. It's not just using a double, it's using people as essentially test subjects for danger.
It is. And the article even brings up an anecdote from Chan's own book, The Wu Gang Incident.
Right, tell us about that. The article uses it to show the kind of demands placed on the team.
So the article cites Chan's memoirs, where he talks about facing discrimination from American crews. He wanted to show how tough his Hong Kong team was. So for a scene needing a kneel after a flip instead of using a mat,
No padding.
reportedly not, he instructed Wu Gang to roll directly onto concrete, and they apparently did it multiple times.
Ouch. And the result?
Wu Gang's knees were left bloodied, according to the account cited in the article. Now, Chan might have told that story to show dedication, but the article includes it to illustrate the sheer physical cost involved. what was expected, what was endured.
It paints a really intense picture of that work environment, and the article then draws the stark contrast between that history and Chan's ongoing success versus the current situation for many of those former team members.
That contrast is really central to Chung Fat's reported motivation. The piece talks about how even younger Hong Kong actors struggle today, working service jobs, driving Ubers, that kind of thing. But it stresses the situation is often even bleaker for the older martial artists. Chan's generation, his former team members.
Because their bodies are worn out from all that dangerous work and they can't do it anymore.
Pretty much. They earned money risking everything back then, but now older, often dealing with chronic injuries, they struggle financially. Meanwhile, Chan's career just keeps going.
And the article says Chung Fat actually confronted Chan about this face-to-face in an interview.
Yeah, it reports Chung Fat did that. Directly urged him to support his old colleagues who are facing hardship now.
So this isn't just like complaining online, it's been a direct appeal, at least according to this source.
Right, and the article really hammers this contrast home. It says, quote, "An era has ended. For those martial artists, their physically demanding careers are over." But Chan, he's still incredibly active.
And it backs that up, right? Mentioning Panda Project's $300 million gross leading to the sequel.
Yep, and that huge list of upcoming projects. Nearly 30 in development. Things like Reboot, Project A, Catching Shadows, where he's listed as producer or supervisor. Still very much in the game, very wealthy.
So that massive gap, the global star still thriving versus the reported struggles of the team who helped build that stardom, that's the core tension the article explores through these accusations.
Absolutely, that's the heart of it.
So, okay, stepping back after diving into this article, the main takeaway seems to be these pretty heavy accusations of ungratefulness, maybe neglect, against a massive star. And they're rooted in claims that the people who took incredible risks suffered serious injuries for his films.
The stunt team members.
Yeah, but they haven't been properly recognized or supported, especially now they're older and can't work like they used to, while he continues to enjoy huge success.
This deep dive really makes you look behind the curtain, doesn't it? Past the amazing stunts on screen to the human element, the potential cost. It raises big questions about the relationship between a star and the team that makes their image possible.
Like, what kind of unspoken agreement or maybe even moral debt exists when someone's fame is built partly on others literally breaking their bodies?
It's uncomfortable to think about, and it leaves you, the listener, with a pretty challenging thought, I think, given how incredibly dangerous that style of filmmaking was. What responsibility, if any, does a star have for the long-term health and well-being of the people who got seriously hurt making them famous, especially when the star achieved such immense wealth?
Does that responsibility end when the film wraps, or when the paycheck clears? Or is there something more, a moral obligation that lasts longer?
It's definitely complex, no easy answers. But it's a question that this deep dive, looking closely at the source and the voices within it, really forces you to grapple with.